Hey guys, it's Slumming Rush. Today we're going to be taking a look at a replay sent in to me by Jamie. He's on the map Serene Coast and is type 64, and is this started? Yes, it is. Okay, so first thing you want to do when you start a match is typically going to be to look at the enemy lineup and predict where the enemy is going to go, and use that information to try to decide how you're going to deploy. Now, this is a tier 7 game, so a lot of the times your predictions aren't going to be 100% accurate. It's just like being prepared, like putting yourself in the mindset to try to understand where the enemy is going to move and how they're going to do it is often going to be really helpful. So first thing you're going to want to notice is the fact that they've got two tier 7 heavies, heavy tank number 6 an OI and an OI experimental, as well as a Churchill. So they've got a really big heavy tank presence. Like a lot of their team is going to be heavy tanks. Typically heavies go to the 9 line. So I would expect the majority of their team to go over there. Now if you look at your lineup, you don't really have those big heavies. You've got a Tiger, which again isn't really a big heavy in World of Tanks. So I really wouldn't expect you to win the 1 line at the beginning of this game. Now, I've seen this replay probably too many times by now because I've tried this quite a bit, but yeah, you're just like, it's going to be very unlikely that your team is going to win the 9 line. So going to the 9 line would be suicide. Even if you were in a heavy, it would be suicide. So yeah, just be prepared for your tank for your team to lose that side, and then you're going to have to react to that. So that's what I would be thinking about at the start of a game. You're scouting. Now, typically, you set this tank up as a scout. Now, I just want to talk about scouting because a lot of times I say, and a lot of other people say that scouting is useless. And that's going to hold true for a lot of tier 10 games. Like a lot of times tier 10 mediums can do a lot better job of scouting than tier 8 light tanks. However, what you're going to find is the Type 64 is a tier 6 light tank, so it's basically a tier 7 tank. The Type 64 is going to do a lot better job of scouting than same tier mediums, such as the Comet or the T-43. So really, like, it's totally logical to set up a tier 6 light tank as a scout. I just don't like the idea I just don't like it when people say that scouting is for all light tanks in the game, because tier 8 lights just can't scout because of the way the game plays. So, yeah, you did a good job. You found out where they were going. I want to comment on how you decide to take out this ELC. Oftentimes people like to counter scout in their light tanks, and that's basically what you're doing right now. I think it's a very logical play to do. However, I don't like how you approach this ELC. So what you do is you come up this road here, right here, and what that's going to allow them to do is basically, if they have anyone camping near this Churchill's location, you're going to get hit. So the OI isn't lit right now. A lot of times people like to try snipe in their OIs. Don't ask me why, but it happens. I would sort of be prepared for an OI to be right here. So I think this play is a bit risky. A better way to have approached it would have just been to come up into this lane here and gone from there. In the end, you don't get hit, which I think is pretty amazing, but there is that. So you end up killing the ELC, which saves the ARL. And now you're sort of in this position where you have to deal with a full HP Cromwell B. You're on 400 hit points, so you're down 200 hit points compared to him, and you're with a one-shot ARL. So I really like your decision to run away. A lot of people don't run away from fights they can't win, and that's going to be one of the major reasons as to why people die a lot. There is a T-34-100 going after the Cromwell B, so there is that. But really, if you were to stay there, you really don't know how that T-34-100 is going to play. He might just, like, camp and let you die. So I think it's a really good decision of yours that you made to simply just run away from that fight. So right now you've got shots on a Churchill. You get really like insanely unlucky with RNG right here. You're looking for shots and 3 of them miss in a row. Luckily your 4th shot hits, and right now you're just going to go after the VK3601. So this is completely logical. While you're farming this guy, I typically would just turn auto aim on and look at my mini map. What you're going to notice is that they are pushing up the 9 line. So they've got an IS, an OI, a T29, all pushing up the 9 line. And currently, really, the only guy unspotted is the OI experimental, as far as I'm concerned. Like, that's the only thing I'd really notice right now. So I like how you decide to stick in the middle of the map. Normally, what a lot of people would do is they'd try to push up the 1 line, or they would try to defend against the 9 line. Both of those wouldn't be too good because you're just putting your light tank in a brawling position. That's not going to be very positive for yourself. What I think you're doing right now is very good. So you're focusing down the one-shots. And that's another problem a lot of people deal with, is just like they will on purpose avoid shooting low HP tanks to increase their damage output. That's going to be suicidal a lot of times because removing guns from the fight is going to be good. A gun on 1 hit point is able to do just as much damage as a gun on 3,000 hit points. So keep that in mind. I really like how you're just going after the one-shots here. And there's another thing I like how you do. So you're noticing this IS is coming after you, and I like how you don't get proxy lit by him. What that's going to make him do is he hasn't noticed you, so you're able to pop up behind him, and you're going to start shooting him. Now, at this point in time, I wouldn't really be looking at this IS. You want to be looking at anyone who might affect you. So you're going to notice this T-34 is pulled back. He might have shots on you if you try to run away. There's a Cromwell B and someone else up here. And then you also want to check your right-hand side. Now, a lot of this can be done simply by looking at your mini-map. And this is going to be one of the most important skills you can learn on the game. And it's basically situational awareness. So I really like how you decide to not try to circle the IS. A lot of people's first instinct when they're in light tanks is to try to circle people. Your decision not to circle that IS is really good, because if you had, there would have been a T-29, a Cromwell, and a Hellcat who would have had shots on you. So I think you actually played that really well. Right now you jump off a cliff. Fucking idiot. I don't know why. I can call him that because he's a friend of mine, but I don't know why you did that. You might just not know the map, that's okay. And you're sort of you have to deal with the situation of an IS coming to attack you. So again, I like how you play it simply passively. So I would have expected that IS to YOLO you, and I would have tried to bait him into jumping off the cliff, sort of like you did. And what I typically would have done is I would have just sat here and tried to get the IS to YOLO into you, and then you can circle him down low. You actually hit, and you got pretty lucky, and he didn't come after you, so there is that. Right now, you're searching for the IS. I would expect he's gone to search for you, but it appears he's going after Artie. Don't ask me why. And here's sort of like the first thing that I notice, like, big thing. You're shooting gold at the rear of the IS. I don't think this is really mandatory. Now, personally, I don't care, but it's just something to consider, because what's going to happen is you're going to need that gold to kill the IS, the T-29, the OI, and the OI experimental. So I think it might have been a better play to just conserve that gold ammo for the rear of a, like, for tanks you actually need it for, but that's just my opinion. In the end, it doesn't harm you. Right here, there's an OI. How you decide to deal with him is a bit unique. So as you can see, he's deciding to just rush into the OI. Now this has its advantages and its disadvantages. So the advantage is simply the fact that he's going to kill the OI immediately. If you look at the mini-map, the OI experimental was lit, and you can expect him to be coming into this fight in the next minute or two. So what you typically are going to want to do is you're going to want to kill the OI before the OI experimental gets into the fight. Now, the risk here is you don't know how long it's going to take that OI experimental to get into the fight. So you're taking a risk here, and in the end it actually pays off, but you're going to be just pushing into this OI. And what I would expect to happen is I would be preparing for that OI experimental to be coming up from one of these alleys here, because it's better to be safe than sorry. So what I would do is I would hug the side of this OI, and that's going to minimize, like, it's going to keep you safe from this angle, and if the experimental comes up from this angle, well, you know, you're screwed. It's 1 out of 3, so you just have to try to use the OI for cover. So you can see right here, you sort of focus down the OI. You haven't noticed, I'm just going to pause it, you still haven't noticed that there's an OI experimental coming up right here. Now that has a lot of potentially really bad consequences. You're going to see the OI just shoots, and he actually shoots his teammate there, but yeah. I think you should have been a bit more cautious there, but it's just like, that's prediction, right? And a lot of people don't know how to predict how the enemy will play. It's something you could definitely work on. It's just, you know, my thoughts. Alright, so right now you're pushing into this OI. You're going to side hook him the same way you did the other OI, and I think you do this really well. You're actually really good at brawling in your light tanks, and you do manage to finish this guy off, which I think is really positive. So you end up killing them. You have no worry about them getting on cap. You have 6 kills, 3,400 damage, and sort of now you have to try to decide, how am I going to kill a full HP T-29 and an SU-122A with 2 shells left? So I think you do this right. Normally, like, my first instinct is to try to kill all because I feel that's safer, but I think you do this the right way. So they've got artillery lit. He was last spotted at C3, and you're going to go after him. That's totally logical because he is alone. You do want to take him out of the fight if you can, and I think the way you decide to take him out is really, really smart. So you're going to spot him in a second here. And he is lit. Now, you do have the shot, and you decide not to take that shot. I think that's really good, because the SU-122A is a 2-shot, and you have 2 shells. So if you miss one of those shells, it's not going to be good. So you're basically going to be out of ammo, and you're going to have to try to cap out with an Artie who could blind fire you on cap. So how you decide to do this, I think, is actually really risky. You decide to push into him, which is the correct thing. You do want to close the distance. However, I think you could have used this Hellcat for cover here. What's going to happen is the SU is going to hit you, and that could have very easily ended your game. Sort of like that OI experimental who shot his teammate. That could have ended your game too. But I think it's really lucky that he didn't manage to kill you here. I think a better way to have approached this would have simply been to have used this Hellcat for cover. In the end, you did get lucky. However, I think if you had managed to use the Hellcat, you could have been able to bait the SU-122A into missing, or you could have been able to get this GW Panther to potentially take the hit for you, or he might have just finished the SU-122A off. So currently, you're out of ammo. You have to decide how you're going to win this game. You've got a T-34-100 who's pushing into them. Now, my fear would be that the T-29 is a good player, and he's coming back to reset the cap. Like, the T-29 will probably expect you to cap out if he was good. However, the fact that the T-34-100 spots nothing so far can make you pretty sure that the T-29 isn't coming back to base, because the 34-100 would have seen him. So you can cap out, and that's the right thing to do. I think what you should be doing right now is talking to your GW Panther and trying to get him on cap, because a lot of heavies can very easily get from one end of the map to the other within 90 seconds, which is the cap time. So it's actually 100, I think, but... yeah, so the T-29 was last spotted at your base. He just got lit. The T-34-100 died to him. Now you're going to cap out. I would still be worried that the T-29 might be mobile enough to come kill you. I would be talking to the GW Panther to reset. Now this is simply because I don't have a lot of experience at these low tiers. High tiers, you know, I know the speeds of tanks. Most heavies can get back in time to reset. I think it would have just been better to be safe rather than sorry, and trying to convince that GW Panther to get on cap a lot sooner. But, yeah, in the end, you're going to cap out. The T-29 is not going to be able to do anything, because I'm pretty sure he's stock. He had a stock turret or something. So, yeah, in the end, I think you played it really well. Hopefully this was helpful. I wanted to give my perspective as to how you played. I think you did a lot of things right. I think maybe if you had saved your gold shells for the OI, might have been a better decision. But, I mean, it's your shells. It doesn't really matter. You got the rear of him. You were going to pen anyways, so... yeah, that's about it. Just try to... oh, okay, the replay crashed. Let's go look at the end plates then. Alrighty, so in the end you did Mastery Badge, 100,000 credits, 6,148 experience on the double, High Caliber Invader, because you capped out, and a Top Gun. Alright, so 3,600 damage, 7 kills, 1,700 base XP. In the end you made a profit, which I think is pretty impressive considering you ended up shooting all your shells, so... yeah, hopefully this replay was helpful. If you want to see more, be sure to hit the like and the subscribe button, and I hope to see you around. Later, guys. Bye-bye.